This ever-increasing quest to just get higher and higher levels of THC, which is the ingredient which leads to being high. Marijuana became really popular in the 60s, for example. The THC level may have been 3 or 4%. Now when we're talking about levels of THC and the way in which they're doing dabbing and other preparations, they're getting up to 90, 95% THC.
Concentrate side, that's the thing that I think has taken our students the most by storm, right? They're able to use these vape pens with specific concentrates inside of it. It has little to no smell. It's very, very difficult to detect. The stuff we're seeing with the high potency concentrates, some of these things of like upwards of 90% THC by volume is pretty frightening. And a lot more psychoses and a lot more of these mental health, consequences that we didn't see as commonly when kids were mostly just smoking flower.
And so the potency is incredibly high and the results are incredibly high. And for some, not only young people, but people in general, but especially young people, it is extremely damaging. We're seeing psychosis, we're seeing bouts of severe vomiting and illness, we're seeing severe anxiety. If someone has a comorbid pre-existing psychiatric or psychological condition, they're going to be pushed over the edge pretty easily by using high potency marijuana.
On the treatment side, we're seeing this prevalence of psychoses, but definitely with 17, 16, 18-year-olds coming in, finding themselves in the ER with really, really serious psychotic episodes and following the use of these high potency concentrates. Not to say that every person that used concentrates is going to end up being psychotic, but I will tell you that it was much, much more rare, 10, 15 years ago for us to see those types of things in young people.
In our center, for example, we're getting many more referrals from the emergency department than we ever did before. So these young kids are winding up in the emergency room with serious consequences from their use.
I would think of marijuana as any sort of, foreign substance that is not really nutritious or beneficial to anybody's health. I used to work in an emergency department and would see cases of cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome, which just means prolonged vomiting or repeated or frequent vomiting episodes. And then once patients have developed this syndrome, if they stop the marijuana, it goes away. And then if they restart it, sometimes it comes back. Chronic users or chronic high-level users can potentially develop this pretty uncomfortable syndrome.
To medical problems and mental health issues and addiction issues, we also have the whole notion of unintended negative consequences, which means some kids are just going to get in trouble either mentally, physically, or legally, or school-wise, and it's going to follow them for a long time.
Recognize that definitely there are academic consequences of using marijuana, especially for those students that are predisposed to an addiction or a dependence, that when your body craves marijuana and it's all that you think about, you're not going to be able to study or do well on tests and things like that. It does seem as though more and more students are vaping, but then more recently it's been a blend. Some vape nicotine, some would definitely not vape nicotine but are vaping marijuana as if that's somehow better. Vaping requires sort of oil-based vapors that are bad for lungs. For cognitive development, marijuana can slow down thinking, can have difficulties for a person's ability to pay attention to something. So all of these challenges, I think, will make it very difficult for teenagers or young adults to, grow to their full brain's potential. Because it does alter, one's ability to make good decisions, it alters and impairs judgment. I worry about it similar to alcohol use. One of the issues is getting into a car or driving under the influence of either alcohol or marijuana, which can lead to really serious consequences. Another short-term consequence of using marijuana, I think, is the association with potential mental health issues. At any point, marijuana will worsen mental health issues because it prevents the person from getting true, seeking true treatment. for their underlying condition, or marijuana could actually cause a new mental health issue. It's the fact that so many of my teenage patients don't seem to think it's a big deal. I hope that we're able to get a handle on this, and that youth aren't going to be harmed from long-term effects of using marijuana and starting so soon.
Very easily, the thing that worries me the most is the mental health ramifications, and we see it. We see these concentrates leading to really, really sad outcomes. Sometimes that young people are able to recover from, and sometimes that they're not.
We have ways now that are, as we said, THC levels are high. A teen can sit in their class and secretly vape, and there's no smell, there's no odor, nobody even knows what they're doing. So all that is kind of frightening where it's going to go.